A relationship is like a dance. It takes two to tango. Want to have healthy and successful relationships filled with passion, fun, and harmony? Hi, and welcome to the Two to Tango Show with Linda Sutton, a podcast that explores how we can improve your relationships with God, yourself, your intimate partners, and the community. Tune in and learn actionable insights and tips you can use to improve your relationships. The battle of the sexes ends here. Join Linda Sutton today and take your relationships to a whole new level while having fun every step of the way.
Welcome to the Two to Tango Show, where our role and our goal is to help you with all of your relations, from your relationship with God and self, intimate partner and family, community, nature, and nations. Hi, I am your host and usually doing the most, Linda Sutton, and I am so excited to be bringing to you one of the hottest international music groups on the scene now. Archie and Sizzle are the bomb. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to have them on the show, other than their brilliant Kizomba, Simba, Zouk, and Afro Rhythm artists, is their philosophy behind their music. Now, how I first got kind of introduced to Archie and Sizzle, or A&S as they like to call themselves, hello, is I was listening to one of my favorite DJs, DJ Art. Shout out to DJ Art, and he does a weekly online session, or was at the time. And there was one song that he was featuring. He had featured multiple times, and it was called Red Dress. So I'm wearing my red dress in honor of their appearance here today. Well, that song, of course, got my attention. And so it made me want to explore their work even more. And as I kind of dove into their body of work and really got intimately familiar with their lyrics, it made me want to talk with them even more. Archie and Sizzle actually were two artists who had solo musical careers prior to becoming A&S. As solo artists who started in hip hop and R&B during their teenage years, they began to be involved not only as music producers, rappers, singers, and DJs, but most notably, they like to call themselves performers. Both, after having an opportunity to connect with one another randomly at social events, began to collaborate together. And as a result, we see Archie and Sizzle right now, who are involved in the international scene of Kizomba, Simba, Zouk, and Afro Rhythms. So we are going to be so excited to talk to them about their music and perhaps have them curate a little bit of us to get us ready for our Love Month theme here today on the Tutu Tango Show. Welcome to the Tutu Tango Show. I'm your host, usually doing the most, Linda Sutton, and it is so exciting to have Archie and Sizzle here on the Tutu Tango Show. Archie and Sizzle are the bomb. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. We excited. What's going on,
Awesome.
people?
Excellent. I love it. I love it. And so you're over there lighting incense, turning down the lights, giving us the blue light special. You're creating all kind of mood over there on your side of the pond to ensure that we get the vibe for the night. Yes?
Oh yeah, we gotta make sure the energy's right. Yeah, scene is set.
Excellent,
Here.
excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much. So, as I told them in the open of the show, you two are some of the hottest artists in the Kizomba, Zouk, Simba, Afro Rhythm, international Latin scene. And it is so exciting to have you here on the show as a part of our Love Month special and featuring your work. And the one thing that I definitely want to make sure that we focus on today is kind of doing looking below the hood in terms of your philosophy, because that is what fascinates me most about your work, and is of course the most appropriate for the Tutu Tango Show. So let's start, because you guys have gone from hot and sizzling, sultry and sexy. You're there now, but you started more in kind of the hip hop and R&B scene as solo artists before you became a group. Let's talk a little bit about that and give the audience a heads up on your background as Archie and Sizzle before Archie and Sizzle.
Yeah, so basically, man, it's really cool because we both have been doing music for such a long period of time, and so much so that Sizzle was doing music whenever he was little, little Sizzle, and Lil, you know, Lil Bow Wow, Lil Romeo, all these littles whenever they became little, and then all of a sudden they grow up and they take the little off of it. Yeah. The only person that I know still with the little on is Lil Wayne, and he still got his little. But he was doing music when he was Lil Sizzle, and then when we started doing music together, he took off the little and he was just Sizzle. And I think one day though, I was actually like, when we started, I think I was like, hey bro, I think you should take the little off of Sizzle and just be Sizzle. But so he
I actually dropped the little before we did.
Was it before?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it wasn't. I don't know if I knew that, but I think I remember. I was like in my head. Maybe it was just in my head. I was like, I hope he takes the little off of Sizzle. So
it'd be Archie
and Little Sizzle. That'd just be weird. And so, but we was doing music separately. He started then, and then I was doing music. I started doing DJing when I was 15. Started creating original music when I was 18, and we both grew up in Houston in the same hip hop scene. So naturally, we ran into one another at gigs. If we were doing the same gigs in Houston, a lot of us used the same engineers within Houston, so we ran into each other a lot. Then we actually were on some of the same projects before as well.
Speaking of engineers, well, I've been using the same engineer since I was like 16.
It's true.
Wow.
He's the same guy who produces our stuff now, which is crazy. Yeah. So
shout out to the homie Brandon Garza.
Yeah.
So, but so we were running to each other then, and then outside of that, one night I was out at a Latin spot dancing salsa and bachata, and I saw him, and I was like, bro, I did not know that you dance salsa and bachata. And he was like, I didn't know that you dance salsa and bachata. So then that turned into us weekly, almost daily, taking road trips. And by road trips,
this is no exaggeration.
No exaggeration. By road trips, I mean every Monday. And Houston is really, really dope because there's the ability to dance
every
single night of the week.
Wow.
So it was literally, I think the only day we took off was
Sunday.
No, Monday. No, Sunday we danced too. I think it was Mondays. So it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We would meet up at this spot on our side of town, and then we would hop in one another's car, and one of us would drive all the way out to the spot, and we danced every night. It was crazy for like 6 months straight, every single night. So then we got
6 months.
One another. It was nuts. I'm like, we're really not exaggerating. We can't make this up. It's really what happened. So we got to know each other a lot better. We became really, really cool. We both were not married at the time. So, and I don't even think you knew who your wife was at the moment.
I don't think I was.
You didn't even know her. Yeah, I didn't know Sophia at the time at all either. So that's just how long ago it was. So then after all that happened, we found Kizomba. We started dancing Kizomba, and I think maybe like 2 months into dancing Kizomba, we were like, "Yo, we should release a song," and then we didn't. And we
okay.
just kind of just went by. And I always say that to people to tell them that like we weren't just like we're about to make Kizomba music and just like pushing it and just blow up in the Kizomba scene. Like it wasn't really like that. No. So like literally like 6 or 7 months passed, and then I was like, we were gonna make a Kizomba song. And so then after that, we put out Worth It All in 2014, which was our first Kizomba song that we ever put out, and it just blew up. It took off, and then after that, we did Paradise. We did No More with our homie Pilo, who lives in Boston. And from there, we just kept on pushing music, and a lot of people from around the world really started to gravitate towards it and started to love dancing to it, love the message behind it, and everything like that. So
awesome. I love that. I love that about you all's story, because to hear the kind of the backstory from the place of even though you were both musicians, that the way that you connected was like going out to all the dance spots. And then we're like, oh, after the fact, kind of like, oh yeah, I guess we should do some, some music related to this. I think that's profound because I think number one, it's just wonderful to hear that story. But also, I think what it does is it sets the stage set the stage for, I think, what makes you all resonate with people so much because you both are prolific dancers, first and foremost, both of you. And then you have the background of music. So you have a real intimate relationship with the dance itself. Yeah. And all the nuances and what it takes to connect and what it takes to be with a partner and all the cultural and social dynamics that happen on a dance scene, that you're bringing that plus your many years, over 12, 15 years of experience of music, all to come to bear at this moment in time. And I think that's really, really profound.
Yeah, the music's important, man. Like I always tell people, even when it comes to like leading and following, like I always tell them, and I say this to point out the importance.
She's getting excited. You said leading.
I know you speak of my language now. Okay, Papi, you say leading and following. Yes, talk to me. Talk to me. Now you have my attention. Speak to me, honey. Speak to me, Papi. Tell me about the leading and the followings.
I say this to point out the importance of the music and the dance is the lead is listening intently to the music, and the follow is listening intently to the music through the lead. Oof. So it's like if you're able to do that, you're both able to connect to the music. The only difference is the lead is leading while listening to the music, and the follow isn't just. If I'm following, I'm not simply listening to the lead, but rather I'm listening to the music through the lead.
Woo, through his body. Woo, hold on a second. Hold up. I need to catch my breath, honey. Wait a second. Turn the lights on. Oh, the lights is on. Okay. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Hold on. See, you went there. I was not thinking that you was going to go there, but you went there. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so funny that you said that because was that
I said poetry snaps.
Oh, what? Drop the mic. And it's a heavy mic, but I'm ready to drop it. Yeah, it's like, yes, with all the S's. It's so funny that you said that. It's right on time because the listeners will hear a couple of episodes before this episode, the episodes that I've just done on leading and following. So You said that. I'm like, whoo, holla, okay. So yes, they'll get a deep dive on what it means to lead and what it means to follow, not only through tango, but of course in any partner dance. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting. So let's go there. I mean, the fact that number one, that level of sensitivity, every musician that makes music for a dance doesn't necessarily understand that level of mastery, that connection between the two people, the connection between the couple and the music, the different roles they play, the environment. So let's talk about how that, because number one, you speak to healthy relationships. So I'll give you a moment to speak to that. But how does that inform all of the nuances of your music? Because if you went there, we're going to go there then. Because if you're talking about, okay, the man is leading, but he's listening to the music. And then the woman, who I'm a follower, is experiencing the music, not only through her ears, but through her leader's body. Okay. How does that inform the music that you create?
Can I give an illustration? What you just said, kind of what both of you guys have said, just kind of gave me a little bit of an illustration. I think of creating music for dance as if you're creating a coloring book without color, and basically the lead is the one who colors in the lines, right? And then the follow is kind of complementing them, drawing along with them. And I don't know, I feel like when we're creating, we have to create in a way that we know that we can create space and freedom for the dancers to have creativity on their own, right? As they're dancing. Because I know as dancers and people who really listen closely to musicality, I think is extremely important, is that you're always listening for like something to kind of almost impress your follow. It's like, you don't see this coming, but I know this is coming. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you know the song, you're like, yeah, we're going to dance. And then, this part's coming up and you're going to, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this right here. Right? But she's not going to know it's coming because she don't know the song. So I think it's important to create that in the music that you actually make. And I think us knowing that and practicing that as dancers and as well in the music is like, that's why whenever we're mixing, we put in little sounds here, there, and it's not just randomly, it's specifically placed for people who are listening for those sounds.
Yeah, it's the details, man. And even if, like, one of my favorite things to see is I'll watch, for example, and this is more on the Brazilian Zouk side of things, but we have a song called Poison that has literally been danced to by every freaking Brazilian Zouker in the world. Like, I'm literally like, how many times, every time I get tagged in a video, I'm like, is it going to be another song? It's Poison. And I love it. I love it that they're dancing to Poison. But that just goes to my point that I can watch a bunch of different people dance differently to the same song that we produced, and watch how they interpret their dance and what they're hearing to the song in their dance. And so that just goes to show that, like, literally every person, even though we are creating something as dancers that is giving the ability for somebody to really create, I guess, a little bit more freely than maybe possibly somebody who doesn't dance, like a musician that doesn't dance. But even in that, a person can hear a song and interpret it in one way, while another dancer can hear it and interpret it in a different way. And I love watching that. So whenever it comes to how we create music, we create it. That was a beautiful analogy. As musicians, we just hand you a coloring book that's not colored in, it's not finished, and you take that and you color it. And how many times you give a coloring book to a bunch of middle school kids and you get the coloring books back and they all look completely different.
You
know what I'm saying? And so it's really like that. It's the beauty of art. And I think that we
and then DJs are the ones who color outside the lines.
Yes, they do.
Guilty, because I'll take that role as well. But I think that, like, for us, that's the beauty of really being able to create music from the perspective of a dancer and not only a musician. Because, like, I'll hear stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, like, even sometimes I hear stuff now, and in the middle of the COVID thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss dancing so bad right now. Like, I really miss dancing. Because we went from dancing, like, I went from traveling, because I'm DJing as well. So with DJing, I would travel even if we weren't going to perform and Sizzle wasn't with me. I went from traveling 3, almost 4 weekends a month to I haven't traveled in a year. It's been like since February. I haven't even been on an airplane. So, like, I'll produce music right now and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I miss dance so bad. Because those elements of the dancer, the things that the dancers love, is like all in the music, you know?
Yes, I love it. It's so many things that I want to pull out of what you all have just said. So I'm going to start with the thing that immediately came to mind, which is that it's beautiful that you not only facilitate the conversation, because we always on the Tutu Tango show talk about the dance, especially with tango, because of the principles of it, that it's a conversation, that it's a going back and forth. So it's so funny that not only do you all facilitate the conversation of the dance, but you also are a part of the conversation of the dance, which I think is just really, really powerful. And I really wanted to kind of underscore and restate that. But then you added the other element, because when we talk about on this show, the anatomy of the tango, we talk about it in terms of the leader and the follower. We talk about it in terms of the embrace. We talk about it in terms of the principles, which is the rules that govern the roles. And then we talk about the environment. And when you said that the dancers, like in the coloring book analogy, that the dancers, the leader and the follower are writing or coloring inside the lines, but the DJ is the one that's coloring outside of the lines, it made me think of that idea that we talk about here on this show, which is the environment and the DJ helping to set the stage. Because you're a DJ and you DJ and MC as well, in addition to that, what additional elements do you have to keep in mind as you not only DJ, but even perhaps create music with the environment in mind? Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the pluses, I'll speak on the plus, and then I'll speak to like different things that it pushes me to create as far as elements of the song. I think one of the pluses is you have a firsthand view of what the people really want.
Oh, okay.
So like you can see this is what people are loving right now. And it gives you the ability to create without compromising what you would naturally create. Like you don't want to just be fake and just be like, oh, I'm gonna make this because this is what people want, even though I would never make something like this. But like you see, okay, this is what people are liking. So I will keep that in mind whenever I'm creating what I would naturally create. And then it causes us to be able to push things and make stuff that might hit more of a vein in people. Like there's times where like I'll be like, yo, bro, this is what people are feeling right now. Like this is what people are feeling right now. Like this is something that we need to like. I'll make something and I'll be like, this is what we need to do something to right now because this is what people are feeling right now. As far as creating music, I think it's really pushed me, and this is something that we were doing before, regardless. But I think it's pushed me to have a lot more space in our songs where there aren't a lot of lyrics. To where if we have a bridge, for example, and the bridge is solely instrumental, or recently, this is something that I hated doing in the past, but we'll just release our instrumentals as well as the original song also. So even with our Fresh Music Fridays, like you hear the original song with all the lyrics, and then you also hear the instrumental. They're both released. And so I think that as a DJ, it's really cool from my perspective to be able to see the energy and the temperature of what's taking place within the scene. So then that way I can create music that will really be able to push the veil in that realm, you know? So yeah.
I think something to add on to that too is something I noticed is that you can also see in the scene like where you can make a song to fit like strategically almost. Like for example, a lot of times we say this on a certain instrumental or song that we make, and we'll say this is one of those 3 a.m. songs right here.
Oh, that's true.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Like this right here, this is a 3 a.m. song. Like you know exactly, like as soon as you hear the instrumental or whatever vibe you're in, you're like, this is something I would love to jam or dance to at this time of night, right? But there's those songs. You can obviously play it at any time during the day, but it's like there's certain songs that just hit right at the right moment.
But if you smart, you gonna play that song at 3 a.m. Kind of DJ can play a 3 a.m. song at 11 p.m. Better move around, Mr. DJ. So yeah,
that's in a different country, children. That's in a different country.
Exactly.
Different time zone.
You're like, it's 3 a.m. somewhere. Nah, bro.
I love that. I think that is what makes you unique and also contributes to how prolific you are as international artists, because to me, you are the musical representation of not only the elements that are in dance, but the elements that are in relationships, you know, and I think that is just profound. There are very few, just as a professional dancer who has worked with so many artists and so many musicians and so many producers, there's just some that stand out that have a unique gift that is just different. It's not just talent, it's not just skill, it's just a gift. And the fact that you all bring together the ability to have the understanding as dancers, the understanding as musicians, and then something that we don't often talk about, which is your understanding as community members, like your ability to see the whole community, or as I would like to say, the neighborhood, and understand what's going on in your hood, and be able to create, think, and be strategic with the whole in mind, not just, this is what I like to do, which you want to have that. This is what I like to dance to with my partner, but I'm also being considerate of the whole. And that is, I think, what puts you in the echelons where you are, in terms of the fact that you have that community view and that global view that you're bringing to your music in terms of how people connect with one another.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I love it. I love it. So lyrically, let's go to the lyrics because we've been talking about kind of the music and the elements there, and that we could talk all day and all night, and let's try not to, but we can talk all day and all night to me in terms of drawing the analogies. And so don't be scared to do that, drawing the analogies between how you see the work and the elements that you have and understand as answers, because that's what we try to do here on the show, is always drawing a connection between the art and art as life. But I really wanted to get into the lyrics. So I've told them that at the top of the show, the two songs that I got most connected with you all, which was Red Dress, which is how I knew that it was you guys. And then before that was Water. But then as I started to explore your work, because I decided, okay, I'm gonna make my own music video to Water. And y'all just gonna have to be all right with that because it's gonna be the Linda sensation. I stumbled upon this trilogy of yours that really just kind of not only spoke to me, but is actually what made me want to have you on the show. Because to me, what I understood that trilogy to represent to me kind of represented kind of one of the core fundamental tenets of what I try to communicate in this show, but through music. And it was the three, I believe it was Celestial, Just Us, and Best Night Ever, I believe is the trilogy. And you actually created them as a trilogy, speaking to the stages of a relationship. And so I'm just gonna let you take the floor on that, because when I heard it, I was like, I've got to talk to these gentlemen, because if they're creating music like this, then it's a game changer. Yeah. So please, let's talk about kind of the backstory of what inspired that and what you're trying to communicate through that trilogy. No, I'm sorry. Hello.
Oh man, you?
I mean,
okay.
You know,
the floor is yours. The floor is yours.
I have a pretty important
part in this trilogy,
yeah.
So I think you should explain. I can talk about that one song. That's it.
Yeah. So it's cool because, like, I feel like throughout our entire journey of music as Archie and Sizzle, one of our big points and our big things that we talk about is relationships. And the beauty of them, and kind of just like changing the viewpoint of how people view them, because it can be really easy nowadays for a lot of people to have a negative connotation towards relationships, simply because of whether it be hurt or people have been through crappy relationships, or what society portrays, because society and the culture can really just like spew on faithful, solid relationships. So our entire career with one another has been that. Well, then in 2018, I got engaged, and I got to put a ring on it.
Yes,
and
yes.
I got married in November. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, I was like, oh man, like I want to write a song for my fiance, which now is my wife, and
who he met in the
dance. I met in the dance scene.
Of course.
And so I was like, man, I want to write a song for her. But I ended up getting multiple beats that I really, really fell in love with. And as I was listening to the beats, the idea came to me that it would be really cool to create a trilogy of songs that really walk you through the beauty of the wedding day, the wedding night, and then until forever. And so I was like, man, it would be really, really dope to create that. So I hit up our boy Michael, who's also on Red Dress, because I was like, he would be perfect for this trilogy. He was all about it. And so then I talked to Sizzle, because I was like, I 100% need Sizzle to be on at least one of these songs. And so Sizzle was on Just Us. Sizzle was married. Sizzle got married before me, so I knew, like, okay, he in that energy. He know what I'm talking about. He's not just about to be spitting, making stuff up. So
he understands you.
Right.
I had some experience now.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So he was on Just Us, and basically the theme of each song, Just Us, like I was saying, was Just Us is like the wedding day. The chorus is this could be the night that you say I do. So the whole theme of the song is like the day and the beauty of the day and all the details and everything that's going through your brain and the nervousness, but the excitement and how the excitement overpowers the nervousness, and all of these things in all of the whole moment. And the music video is amazing because shout out to our boy Jill Videos in Boston who shot the video, because the video is us in Boston in the freezing cold, which actually fits because the snow is white, her wedding dress is white. Yeah. I don't know, it kind of goes. But it's a combination of our shots as well as actual video footage from my wedding. And so we like wanted to capture that. And then best night ever is the honeymoon night.
You didn't give us video of that though, right?
There ain't no
where the children don't want to see video of that now.
About to get me in trouble. But it's
sorry.
But it's cool because even when you think about it, best night ever is it's not 100% there yet. Best night ever is like the limousine to the hotel.
Okay.
It's like talking to you about this is going to be the best night ever, and it's like explaining how I'm feeling and explaining like the feelings that I'm having towards the person that I just got married to, and so it's letting that person know like this is going to be the best night that you've ever had. So then it's that song, and then Celestial, which if you don't know what Celestial means, Celestial is basically like a space type term in like basically saying like taking me to the stars, taking me to the outer galaxy, like all these different type things. Celestial, man, like yes, exactly. And so it's like this imagery of like not only is this night and this moment taking me to this place of galactic type emotion, it's also taking me to this infinite place, understanding that like even though there will be moments in our relationship in the future where we might bump heads and we might not agree on everything, and we might have arguments and disagreements, and we might have all these different things, like that infinite feeling, even though it might be a little bit more distant, like the fight for that feeling and the fight for that love is still there. And Celestial really points that out. And so Celestial is like the night in the actual period of time of the honeymoon night, as well as the future going forward as well.
He was very honest in that song.
I was extremely detailed in that song.
He was very
We'll listen to that later.
I had one of my best friends who heard the song, and after she heard it, she was like,
"Do we need to know all this? This is
okay."
I was the same when I first heard the way that song. I was like, "Wow, okay, Archie went there."
I was straightforward there. I think I talked about toes drilling and heart beating and everything. Yeah, I was pretty.
I had like when I heard that part, I had to literally like go out the door. Like, I was
like, he made you go out the door.
This is a private. This is a private conversation that I'm somehow listening in on. But it was cool because we ended up dancing our first dance to Just Us. And she was surprised because she had no idea about it.
She had no idea the trilogy was happening at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
I on the time whenever we did the first dance, we practiced to a whole different song. And then whenever the time came to do the first dance, I grabbed the mic and I announced that I wrote a song for her and we danced to Just Us and everything. So
oh man, I love that. I love that. Clearly, even that trilogy spoke to me without even knowing this entire backstory. So you can be clear that what you are trying to communicate really does speak across time and space. if you will. And I'm just going to be, I'm not going to jump up and shout and give an amen corner on all that you just said in terms of the well of relationship. But yes, we understand all of that. I think what is also profound about that, number one, thank you for sharing all of that, because I think, number one, we're going to make sure that we give them on the website the links to all of your information, including this trilogy, which has a soft spot in my heart as well, in terms of being, not because, because you already married, but because you are speaking to, because you're speaking to, well, let me back up. The one thing I love that you guys keep saying, every time you say it, it makes me just kind of want to sit back in my seat in a different kind of way, is every time the two of you, I've heard you say it multiple times in speaking with you on and offline, and you say that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And the way that you say it and the intention that I can hear every time you all say it just makes me, kind of sit back in my seat, that you understand the power of what you are speaking over people, that you're speaking into people, that you're speaking into their relationships, but even more importantly, that you also understand that you're speaking into the atmosphere. Like that level of awareness, I'm just going to, throw the signs up to y'all for that, because I'm just like, these dudes better just be understanding they metaphysical nature and everything. So, I mean, like I said, every time you guys either say that or say something akin to that, it makes me sit back. But I think the other piece of it that is going to be profound for my audiences is that you are gentlemen who are delivering this message. Like when you were talking about delivering kind of that wedding day imagery, that's usually like reserved to, most people think of, bridal magazines and the women, and they're like, oh, and the dress and the flowers but to hear gentlemen share their perspective so openly and honestly just is, I don't think people are used to hearing that in music, not at the level of detail that you're given. What gives you the courage, if you will, to be that transparent and kind of being willing to kind of let your guard down as gentlemen, to share these truths about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the vulnerable places? What gives you the courage to do that in your music and in your art?
We do this a lot in our music, and I believe we both believe it's extremely important to be transparent, be open, be honest, be real. And not like, regular hip hop, oh, I'm the realest, like not that kind of real, like the real, you know what I'm talking about? Like the not so great real, the stuff that you don't want to talk about, sometimes you don't want to think about. There's a lot of different songs, a lot of examples of stuff that we've done. I can't even think of songs specifically, but like where we've said things, and basically to answer your question is, there's other people out there who are going through the exact same thing. Us, as me, as you, or whoever, right? And you don't know all the time. And I think, and you hear it in a lot of different artists, but I think it's important for an artist to express how they feel. Because for one, when you're looking for inspiration on what to write, what to talk about, a lot of times the first place you go is your own real life and the stuff that you've been through, the stuff that or sometimes it's stuff that close friends have gone through. Like maybe you're with a friend and they're going through something very deep, and like, you're like, man, that sucks. Like you give them advice one-on-one, but at the same time, you could also write about it and be like, yo, like this is something somebody's going through. Maybe I should write something about this for other people out there in the world who are going through the same thing. So I think it's extremely important because, again, we all like to relate to people. And if we hear something like, if we're talking about COVID or something like that in a song, and we mention something in there that we're going through, like talking about a mask as something small as that, it just like instantly clicks like, yeah, I wear a mask. And you're just like, okay, what's he saying next? You're like, all right, he's in the store with a mask. Okay, I'm in the store with a mask too. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of connects you with the audience to make them understand that you're also a real person. And it also connects them to your music as well. So like, all right, I can also relate to this person. I feel the same when I listen to other artists as well. If they say something and I'm like, I feel the same way. I was never bold enough to say it or tell anybody about this thing, but yeah, I've done the same thing, so I think it's important for us to do it as well.
And I think that it's important for people for musicians and artists to create from a perspective or a place that they're actually living in. So because this is how we live life, and because we were raised in a way that caused us and blessed us to walk out our lives in the way that we are, pertaining specifically to how we view relationships and how we treat the women that we're with, etc. We create music from that perspective. So for me, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's a combination of that, as well as I honestly couldn't care less about if somebody thinks that I sound weak for talking about how much I love my girl. Like, I don't know if it's a combination of those two things that really make me not see it as being like courageous. I just think it's just like what should be normal.
Yeah.
And so I think that society has done this thing that has caused it to seem like, because a lot of times, specifically being real, for a lot of us young African American people, like specifically men, growing up thinking like, in order to be a man, you got to do this and you got to do that, you got to do that. But like, that's not necessarily true. Like, you don't need to do this in order to be a man. You don't need to do that in order to be a man. And so I think that because of how a lot of us grew up, or because of how society has painted things, it has made it seem like it's more courageous to do this, when in actuality, it should be what is normal. So whenever we create music that is intentionally, and it's not an accident, we're not just like accidentally creating it. Like, we're intentionally going in that direction in order to specifically create something that is gonna go against, or go in the direction that is not necessarily going with the flow of what people are used to hearing, because we feel like it's real, first and foremost, to us, but secondly because it's important and it's healthy and it should be what is normal. Exactly.
I love that. I love that. I think that's what makes you multi-generational, multicultural, multi-country, multi-universe, apparently, according to you guys. I don't know, you got some spaceships up there that I don't know about, but like, okay, like Virgin Galactic. Yes, absolutely. I think that is what is so powerful about your work, and the fact that it is so intentional. And I want to underscore that for my audience, because, you know, I got a lot of Mansises in the audience too. And the fact that you are deliberately and intentionally, through your music, I want to use this word carefully, redefining manhood. I think it's more accurately saying realigning manhood, or the definition of manhood, back to what it should be, more than redefining it, but more like realigning it. I think that is so powerful, because we're in a culture where music is having such an impact on young men. The fact that you all are deliberately creating music with, for lack of a better word, a counter message, is extraordinary. I mean, I really want to applaud you all for that, and I want to bring that to the forefront. And I think that is a part of your longevity, and will continue to be a part of your longevity. So, amen to that. Woo, check. Okay. And high five to the left side. Awesome. Now, it's so funny because you speak to the gentlemen, of course, but you don't leave our ladies out, because there's two other songs that I want to bring to the forefront that got my attention as I was doing my studies. Before I met y'all, I was doing studies. I was like, okay, let me go back and look. And I apologize that for right off the top of my mind, one of the titles is escaping me, but one of them is definitely Wish, because the messaging in Wish definitely stood out to me, in terms of, I was like, wow, not only are they paving a stage for gentlemen to kind of rethink how they hear relationships, but also you're speaking and breathing life into young ladies. And one of them was Wish. And then the song where you're actually speaking to your future wife as a single man. And
that was Wish number 2. Was that Wish number 1?
That was Wish number 1.
Because you're literally, it's like almost like a love letter to your future wife.
That was Wish. That was the first Wish. That's Wish.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Wish.
Okay, so that is Wish. And then there's
Worth It All, we did that as well.
There you go. Okay, exactly. No, there was two of them, and I apologize for mixing them up. But one of them, but both of them to me, I think the one number one where you're speaking to your future wife was that you guys clearly have been in this mindset long before you were married. Both of you are married now. But when I heard that, I was like, he about that life for real. He was about that life. I was like, okay, these dudes was about that life before they were about that life because they writing love letters to their future wives. Okay, I'm out here in this dance scene, like I'm here for this. So that got my attention, and then just the positive, not just talking positive within the relationships, but the one where you're speaking kind of, in terms of speaking, understanding your value as a young woman. The fact that you as gentlemen are speaking over young women is just some next level. Like that's a multi-pronged, multi-dimensional messaging that you're doing that is extremely unique. That you're not only, okay, I can speak to my partner, but I can also just speak positively over women. And that's something that's simply not happening in this day and age. So what do you intend to do in that work, and what do you want to continue to, what would be your message, if you were to speak? Obviously you're speaking the message in your lyrics in terms of speaking positively over women, but now that you have a platform, what would you like to say to young men and young women about that messaging that you have?
I would say with the first one, with Worth It All, which is the first song, that was our first Kizomba song, first of all. And then the concept was just basically to kind of just speak to women, right? Because a lot of times in the dance scene, there tends to be more women than males. I noticed, at least in Kizomba.
For sure.
And so a lot of it was like, all right, we want to speak to women because like a lot of them have insecurity issues. They've been in
Mm,
bad relationships, whichever. They've been broken down, beat down, just mentally and everything. And so it's good to have a song to build them up and like, all right, listen, you're worth it all. Like literally, you are worth it all. Like don't let anybody tell you that you're anything less, because you are. You were created beautifully and wonderfully made. You know what I'm saying? Like you
mm,
are worth everything that you deserve, right? And so, and then with Wish, we made Wish kind of with the same mindset of coming back with another song similar to Worth It All, but obviously on a different vein, where it's saying like, hey, I wish you understood how beautiful you are. Like I wish you
mm,
saw yourself through my eyes, right? Because when we see, like when a man sees a woman, they see them differently than how they see themselves. And a lot of
mhm,
times we're our worst enemies, we're our biggest critics. It goes for everybody, to be honest with you. But obviously this song is specifically to women. But it's basically just you're, I'm saying, we wish you saw yourself as we saw you. It's like we see you as beautiful, as like, strong, independent, whatever, right? And then, but think about how we see ourselves a lot of times. We're like, oh, I see myself as weak. We see ourselves, we see our failures a lot of times
yes.
ourselves. When you see somebody else, you're like, man, like they look amazing. They're doing a thing over there. So they got like 50,000 Instagram followers, whatever, right? They're looking good. But and so we see them in this different lens, but then you see yourself and you're like, but I know what I did last night, but I know who what all my, all my insecurities, my doubts,
Mhm,
my the stuff that I'm not proud of, right? And so it's basically what the theme of the song is. And honestly, I would like to continue that message no matter what our platform is. I would love to see those songs reach more people, because that message I think still needs to be sent out.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mix. It's a message that never dies because constantly people are going through things
yes.
that pull them into that state of mind. Not only are new people constantly walking into that state of mind,
Mhm,
but as imperfect people, we are constantly needing to be reminded of things
mhm,
that we so easily forget. And so I think that with Worth It All and with Wish, specifically being geared towards encouraging women as a whole. I mean, I got sisters, I have a mom, I have tons
yeah.
of aunts and tons of female cousins, and tons of female friends. So, like, I mean, if in any way, shape, or form you're connected to any women in your life at all, you hear stories and you see the
Mm,
heartache and you see the
yes.
pain, and not only that, but
Mm,
once again, going back to society, you see the image that society has painted, of women, that has caused a person's mindset to be skewed a certain way whenever it comes to themselves or whenever it comes to what they feel like they're worth. And then also maybe they've been involved in a relationship with a jerk who's made them feel a certain way as well. So it's really important. I mean, to be honest with you, we've had people encourage us about songs, but I think in my personal experience, Worth It All has been the song that I've been most encouraged with by people from personal experience. Like a lot of people have come up to me, a lot of women have come up to me and said, that song specifically is a great song, cool, but that song like got me through this. Personally in my life. If it wasn't for that song, like I wouldn't be where I'm at personally in my life right now. And so I think that points at the fact that a lot of people are going through different things that will rebuttal the message that we're trying to say in the music. And that's why I think it's important to constantly remind people of that. Music is such an amazing it's such an amazing vehicle that gives you the ability to push a message to somebody in a way that hits them in such a different way. So if you can push something as real and as life-changing as you need to understand that you're really worth it. I don't know what anybody's told you, and you don't know me from Adam, but you need to understand that you're worth it for real. And you really understand that, and the music is delivering that to you. Like, I think that you have from us and in our art, we have no choice but to portray that through the music.
I also want to say, I mean, think about a lot of, back to linking this to dancing, a lot of dancers, I know me for one, we go to dance events and scenes to escape from the realities of life, and for our music to hit them right at that potent time, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like they need to hear it. You can imagine like a woman is in a bad relationship. She's like, I'm going to dance tonight with my girls. You know what I'm saying? And she's out there, she's dancing, she's just trying to get away, enjoying herself. And then she hears the lyrics saying, you're worth it all. Maybe, just like he said, maybe that's what she needed to hear to go back home. Like, you know what, maybe I am better than this. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Wow. Okay, gentlemen. And on that note, I just want to just kind of let that linger in the air. Okay, I'm ready to pass around the collection plate. We've been talking to pastors Archie and Sizzle here. The Church of A&S.
They told me.
I do want to point out a side note on a lighter note that which specifically we both wrote that when we were single-ish, and then which remix, I know specifically me, I wrote right after I got married. So if you listen to
you hear the swagger in his verse. Swagger is so much different in which remix in his verse than it is in the first one. Like, I think the first one starts off is like, how's your first verse start off?
They start the same, I think.
Yeah, but you switch it. Oh no, they start the same, but you switch it. Like, and that's where the swagger comes in.
I really don't
in that white dress. I don't remember it either. But the swagger is so much different, man. It's so much different.
So I'll just say back to your previous question earlier about like talking about real life. It's like that's one of the examples, which was an example of talking about like we were at one point in our life during the first version of that song, and we made a remix to it, and we were in a completely different part of life. So our verses were, very different.
I personally like the remix better.
Me too.
Everybody loves the original better. Everybody loves the original better. I mean, obviously my wife, because she's like, that song was about me. And I'm like, but it really wasn't at the time, but it was though. Like, you weren't in my brain, but you was in my brain. It's just so funny. So she loves the original better. But like every time I hear the remix, musically and from an artist perspective, I love the remix better. But everybody like it. So many people love the original better than the remix for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Like I said, we're passing around the collection plate for the Church of A&S because you guys have preached truly, truly. Um, our ladies definitely need to hear that they're, as I say, fearfully and wonderfully made, as Pastor Sizzle said to us a few moments ago. I was like, well, I just, I need to put on my little thing on my head.
That's
Thank
it.
you all. So, what's that, sir?
He said fearfully and
Fearfully,
wonderfully.
wonderfully made. I like put the description
I
on the
just
bottom
missed
of the
you.
screen.
That's interesting.
I
Now red
absolutely.
dress.
Oh well. Excuse me. Excellent. Thank you so much for not only sharing your time with us here today on the Tutu Tango Show. Of course, we will be following you all very, very closely as follows, and watching the unfoldment of your message. And we're looking forward to following you for many, many years to come. But not only thank you for spending your time with us, but thank you for delivering your message to this world. It's very, very timely. It's very, very appropriate. And you are truly like the soundtrack of who and what we're about here at the Tutu Tango Show. So thank you so much.
Love that.
We're going to be putting all the information about how to follow you, keep in touch with you. Of course, all of these pieces that we've been talking about throughout the show, the links on the website. And thank you again. And we look forward to sharing with you, having you all back and having you share with us sometime soon.
Yes, we're excited, man. We're super excited about coming back in the future as well.
Looking forward
Excellent.
to it.
All right. Thank you so much, A&S, or as they say, Archie and Sizzle are the bomb. Take care, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that was so much fun. Hello. I loved having the opportunity to kind of share with Archie and Sizzle and really learn more about their body of work, uh, just not only their creative process, but the philosophy behind their work and the messages that they want to transmit to the world. And I just want to take a moment to reflect because I I noticed it and I could feel it in their music, but now having the opportunity to talk to them, it is so beautiful that they have a real mastery, if you will, of what the whole spectrum of communication is. And I know one of the things that we talk about here is how communication is both verbal and nonverbal. 93% of communication being nonverbal, as a reminder, and it's only 7% of it verbal. And the fact that they understand as both dancers and musicians that they are not only delivering a message of healthy relationships, healthy partnerships, and love through their music, but also the lyrics and the entire environment that they create as artists. It's just really, really phenomenal. I love the way that they're very conscious of the way that they understand that they are not only speaking to those who are dancing, but they are speaking into their relationships, their lives, and even more importantly, they are speaking into their hearts. So, if you want to learn more about Archie and Sizzle, see there are curated playlists. They curated some playlists for your Love Month special date night Valentine-esque activities. Make sure that you go to the Tutu Tango Show. That's the number two, the Tutu Tango Show.com, and we're going to have a page that's dedicated to them, their work, and this podcast where you can get all of their information, learn all about them, hear their music, see their videos, and just explore the entire world of A&S. And so we're going to be signing off. And as we say here on the Tutu Tango Show, it not only takes two to tango, but absolutely it takes you to tango. Ciao.
We have just concluded another moving episode of the Two to Tango Show with Linda Sutton. Did you enjoy the show? If so, head over to the2totangoshow.com and discover a whole array of resources to help you spice up your relationship in every way. That's the number two, tangoshow.com. We would also like to hear from you, so don't forget to leave a review or feedback. Join us again next week for another entertaining and fun episode. Until then,